Okay, I've gone ahead and I've taken an X-Acto blade and or utility blade and cut my slit here for the button, and I'm getting the size. I'm sizing it by being able to kind of push the button through and to see if this will work. And it looks like it'll work. And then leather tends to loosen up over time, so I don't want to make it too big. I can always make it too small and make it bigger, but I can't make it smaller once it's too big. So what I want to do is, and also to keep the leather from ripping, is I want to go ahead and take my hole punch here, and I want to just punch holes at the beginning and at the ends of the slit here, and that will keep that'll help prevent the leather from ripping. And this is fairly thin leather, so it could possibly rip. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of put a hole there, and putting a hole there, if I can get this on the camera for you, right? Putting a hole there will disperse the stress on the edge, so it won't readily rip right away. So I'm going to do that on both sides. Let's find the end of this one. And there we go. So hopefully you can kind of see that. I know it's really dark here, but that's kind of what the slit is looking like. So you have a hole at the top and a hole at the bottom. That'll keep the hole from splitting. And so then it'd be easier and less stressful to fit a button through the hole. Okay. So we got that part kind of handled. And then we've got the two tassel holes that I'm going to go ahead and punch, and I'm just using a smaller hole to punch. You could carefully do this with a knife, kind of drill it in, or even a cut an X, small tiny X with X-Acto with a utility blade or X-Acto knife. But I've got this handy hole punch for leather working that makes it easier. And so now we've got our tassel holes in the front. So I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew my button on in the proper place, and then we're going to sew our strips on the back here for our belt loops there. And I'm just going to go ahead and stitch them on, and that'll pretty much make it. Yeah, I might rivet them in, actually. That might go a little faster. So anyways, those are going to be the next steps. Next, I'm going to go ahead and sew our antler button on, and I've got some artificial sinew, or basically waxed nylon, and I've got an S needle, and this is really good needle for punching through light leather. And so I use this often for when I'm making stuff out of buckskin and things like that. So you can go ahead and actually before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you one of my tools that I have made. And again, from a primitive standpoint, this is a kind of a birch bark tube that has a turkey bone awl, an AWL awl, and this is used to punch holes in leather, and this will go through buckskin. And I have some pork bone, basically made out of some ribs, barbecue ribs, you know, needles, and these have just been sanded and worked down, and then you score your hole through it. So I may hopefully be able to get a chance to do a video on making this sort of kit and actually using it. It's a little bit more time consuming when you're doing it this way. It's because you have to punch the hole and punch your holes and then thread your needle through. So again, you know, I'm cheating because I'm using modern tools for the sake of speed. I'm going ahead and that's why I'm using them. But you know, from a completely Stone Age or primitive standpoint, you can make you a set of bone needles and a bone awl. And then I've just got them kind of fixed here in a strip of buckskin, and then that's attached to, let's see, what is this? I think it's like cedar bark cordage. I don't remember. And then I've just got a tube of birch bark that I kind of can tuck everything in to keep them together and protected. So this would be a little primitive sewing kit, like that. So anyways, continuing on with the button, go ahead and I'm working from the back side, or from the furry side, the suede side, and I'm just go ahead and just kind of punch my hole through, and then I can go ahead and take my antler button and put it through one of the holes and just attach it like that. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and run this through again through the other hole. I only have 2 holes instead of 4. And then I'm going to go back just slightly over from where I came up and go down into the leather and pull it through. Pretty simple concept to sew a button on. It's not terribly difficult. Then I'm going to try to go through the same hole as I did before when I started, and then I'm going to go through this button here, the buttonhole here, and then come up through the middle. Okay, and then I can pull it a little tight. I don't want it too tight, okay? So I want it attached on here, but I want it to have some play, some give. So I'm going to do this a few more times. Okay, so once we get this attached on, I want to bring the needle up one more time, but we're not going to go through a hole. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up one more time from the back side, just behind the button back. Yeah, got to find the hole there. There we go. But I'm not going to go through the buttonhole. I just want to go in between. Okay, and then I want to take my thread here and wind it around a couple of times like that. That'll pinch the stitching together, and it'll give the button, let me get this in frame, it'll give the button some play. Okay, so go do that a couple of times, and then one more time we'll do, and then I'm going to bring this down back through to the back. And then I'm going to go ahead and make my knot in the back. And I usually just make my knot by picking up some of the fibers or the strands of my sinew, artificial sinew, and then just doing a double overhand loop like so. And pulling it tight. I may do once more, just for good measure. And there we go. Take my scissors here, shears, get that off. And there we have our button sewn on. It's not going anywhere. And we're all set to attach the belt loops to the back.